Yo, what is good, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Xplick here. Now, as you can see, third part of Explosion Deku. We're gonna get right into this. Remember to subscribe, like, all of that jazz. Just remember, you guys are awesome, God is awesome, and yeah, let's just get straight into this epic what if, which is what if Deku had an explosion quirk. Let's go! Where we last left off with this what if was Deku and Iggy. They were pretty much fighting these guys, and then they were abducted by these strange guys in these military suits, as they were then taken to the strange place and they were beaten, abused, and overused their quirks for 3 years straight. After that, Deku pretty much blew the whole place up and sent them all to Jesus, as they all died. Because of that, he saw his friend Iggy die. His best friend, his dog, Iggy died. Very sad. As pretty much after that, Deku was picked up by this strange lady with blue hair who was curious, as they ended up going to Daika City where the Meta Liberation Army was. He met all of the Meta Liberation Army people, as that is where we are up to now. So let's get into this. As they go inside, they meet Chitose's associates, as she reintroduced herself as Curious of the Meta Liberation Army. As Deku, his eyes widen and he realizes where he is, as a tall man with a long nose and orange hair. He walks in and he asks, Curious, who's this boy? And she says, this is who the media like to call Detonate. As he asks, Detonate, who? As she says, did you ever hear about the explosive murders around the city? Massive explosions going on in random alleyways along different cities, just leaving criminals dead in alleyways. As this man, his eyes widen as he realizes this is that kid. As he says, forgive my rudeness. My name is Redestro. As he says, I'm the leader of this fine establishment and this kind of organization we have here. As Deku, he's just standing there okay, that's cool. My name's Kidzuki Midoriya. My quirk's Detonate. I'm 12 years old. It's Redestro is very nice. Well, here are the other leaders of the Meta Liberation Army. As Deku looks around, he sees different characters or different people around the area. As he sees this man, he's in a weird kind of suit. It's just weird. He's in this weird, not really suit, it's this cold jumper jacket thing. And there's this other guy, he's weird, he's looks like a brainiac kind of guy. He's got long hair covering his face and a suit. There's this man in glasses with in a suit. Redistro tells them to all introduce themselves. As Curious says, well, my name's Curious, my name's Detonate, you've already met me. As, yeah. Another man, he says, my name is Trumpet, my ability is to... long story short, I'm able to encourage people. Large amounts of people. As the next man, he introduces himself as Skeptic. As Skeptic, he kinda introduces himself and kinda explains his quirk, or as they say, their meta abilities. He tells it, he kinda says his quirk is anthropomorph, which is like being able to take a human-sized object such as a desk or a refrigerator and turning it into an extremely lifelike lookalike of any given person, which he can control like a puppet. And yeah, he can use several puppets at a time, blah de blah de blah. As the next man, he explains his name is Gettin, and his ability is, he's got an ice quirk pretty much. Is he can control any ice in the area. As, yeah, but he can't kind of throw it around, or he can't produce it. He can only use existing ice. As Deku, he's like, okay, that's cool. My name's Kidzuki Midori, my quirk's Detonate, allows me, it's pretty much like Curious's quirk, except a lot stronger, I assume. I can cause massive explosions. And yeah. And so like, okay, cool. Well, see yourself like around, make this place your home. And yeah. And Redistro like asks him, he says like, would you like to join us? Would you like to join our ragtag group? Would you like to join our cause in changing the society for the better? He wants to, as Deku asks for more, he wants to know more about the kind of organization they have here. As Redistro explains that they've pretty much got their whole ideals is to their ideals are to kind of take Kira, or his Redistro kind of explains that their main goal is to liberate meta powers, or as you like to call them, quirks, and destroy the existing framework of society, making people with quirks a lot more freer, that they can use their quirks however they'd like and not be chained down by the restrictions of this society. As Deku, he thinks about it and he says, okay, can you show me around this place at least before I make my decision? As Redistro, he nods his head saying, yes, of course. They, Curious, you can give him the tour. You're the one that brought him here. As Curious nods, she says, of course. I'd be happy to take down this little munchkin. As, yeah, Deku just looks at her like, what are you on? As Curious just looks down and smiles at him. As they leave the building and go walking around. As they have the kind of look around. He gets told that everybody in the city is part of the Metal Liberation Army, and that they have they've got different areas, different kind of rooms and buildings for different trainings of quirks and all that, and everybody here trains their quirks to finally when the day comes to liberate this society and to liberate meta abilities. Sorry about that. Yeah, Deku asks more about her quirk and where she works and just about her, and she says like her quirk is, he knows, it's called landmine. It's pretty much explode stuff. Like anything I touch can turn into an explosion, but they're not very strong explosions, so I've gone more quantity over quality. As Deku, he kind of nods his head and he states like, if I touch something with, like, yeah, if I pretty much touch something with my hands or anything with pretty much all 5 fingers, pretty much, I can cause a bigger explosion. If I just graze somebody, it's a tiny explosion. But yeah, the longer I hold something down, the bigger the explosion can get. And yeah, so Curious nods her head. She's like, oh, it's quite cool. And yeah, so they look around, they see people training their quirks and kind of just going day to day, just life. Yeah, so they go around and they finally make it back to the building where, well, the main building is they meet up with Redestro again. And Redestro asks, like, do you want to join us? Have you figured out, have you made a decision? As Deku says, I'll join your little group of meta-humans. I'll join your group of, or I'll join your association kind of thing, your army. As he nods his head, he's like, that's a very good decision. Yeah, so they do all that. As Deku, he's been training his quirk and all that, and he also goes out. He's been allowed to leave the kind of city because a lot of people, like, they've been given an example, like, all the leaders have been asked him to show his ability. As he shows them, he pretty much, they give him an open field. As he just grabs a rock, he just grabs a small stone probably about the size of a fingernail. As he asks somebody to throw it or send it out there at a very far distance. As they get kind of Getten to just fling it with his ice. As it goes probably 500 meters down the field, 600 meters. As Deku, he snaps his fingers, as a gigantic explosion erupts from the stone, causing it to get pretty much vaporized, gets erased immediately. As they feel the giant shockwave as pretty much a small atomic bomb just went off. Big enough to probably take down a few buildings. As they're looking, they are all wide-eyed, mouths agape. They're like, a kid just did that. As they ask, like, what else can you do with your ability? And Deku says, well, when I left the kind of facility that I was trapped in, I've noticed I've been sweating a lot more, and I'm able to turn the sweat into explosives as well. So that's kind of cool. They're like, oh, that's cool. So yeah. As Deku, he kind of thinks of an idea. He says, like, can you create like some sort of gloves, like fingerless gloves, but gloves that can release like bubbles or something from it, so that I can use those, or to turn my sweat, like take the sweat from like the tops of my hands or bottoms of my hands or whatever, from my hands, and mix it and turn it into bubbles or whatever, and I can lob the bubbles and they'll blow up. Is they think about it and they're like, that's actually a really good idea. So they come up with that idea as they give him the gloves. They're pretty much just regular kind of leather fingerless gloves with like a metal piece kind of on the top and some kind of mechanics around it. But yeah, they don't look suspicious at all. So Deku, he kind of uses that as he kills a lot of people. Like, he's just given up on being, he's kind of just lost all sense of empathy and care. So yeah, 1 year later, as Deku is now 13 years old, he's become a quite high member of the Metal Liberation Army. He's been quite relied on, as he's kind of, if we're talking about the leaders, there is Redestro, there's the main leaders, and then there's Deku underneath them. So he's raised above the ranks and stuff, as they see he's got so much potential. So along the different cities, he's gained the reputation and the name Detonate. And that name is like known now, because people like didn't really know the name before, but they know the name now. Deku has killed a lot of people and a lot of heroes, and yeah, he's just turned into a true psychopath and pyromaniac. Like, he loves explosions, and yeah, like, he has no empathy for anybody. The only people he has a slight amount of empathy for are the people of the high-ranking members of the Metal Liberation Army. As pretty much, we're gonna get to him when he's in a warehouse. As he walks in, he turns on the lights. As he hears some people, and they're like, "People, please help us! What's going on?" And yeah, they see him walking out of the shadows with taking his hoodie off, and what he's wearing at the moment is he's wearing a hooded singlet. So it's a sleeveless jersey or hoodie with a zip down the middle and a hoodie on. It's kind of like a boxing or a fighting kind of hoodie, if you guys have seen them. And yeah, so he's wearing one of them. He's wearing the gloves, which go up to half his forearm, maybe. They go up to half his forearm, fingerless gloves. And just some normal trousers and boots. So he's wearing that, and he's quite tall for a 13-year-old. You'd mistake him for being 15 or something. As they see him walking in, they're like, "Kid, who are you? Like, please help us." And Deku just says, "I'm the one who put you here, because I want you to entertain me." It's like, "What's going on?" As he turns on two lights, as they see there is two cages, two big UFC or MMA styled kind of ring cages. As they're wondering like, what's going on? And by the way, these cages have got a thing on the top of them so the people can't escape. They've got like a dome on the top of it. As they're wondering like, what's going on? As Deku says, "I want you to fight. I want you to fight to the death." As these people are wondering what's going on. If you're wondering like, who are these people? They're heroes and villains alike. So half of them, or around half, are heroes, and half of them approximately are villains. As they're like, "We're not gonna, why would we ever fight for you? Like, we can just break out of here easily." And he's like, "No, that's not what I wanted to hear. You see, my quirk allows me to, when I snap my fingers, it allows me to detonate any bomb I have placed. And I'll tell you now, I've placed a bomb on every single one of your skulls and your necks. So as soon as you kind of defy me, I'll blow your head off. It's like, a kid is threatening to blow us up, and like some of them are like freaking out, like, okay, we'll do it. And some villain, he just says, my quirk allows me to harden like my entire body to the strength of diamonds. There's no way you could blow me up. I'll be able to escape here easily. As Deku, he just says, it's not what I want to hear. So he snaps his finger, and the guy who has hardened his body already to the strength of diamonds, as diamonds start forming around his body, Deku snaps his fingers as the crystal around the guy's neck starts breaking and pretty much cracking around him, as he's freaking out. He's like, what's going on? As Deku says, I'm not dumb enough to put it on your skin. As the guy's head blows apart, as his lifeless body falls to the ground. As everybody in the room is just freaking out, they're like, what's going on? Help us, please! As Deku says, no one's gonna help you. You see, what I want you people to do is I want you to fight to the death. And if you don't, I'll blow off your head. And if you win, I might let you go. It's still like, okay, we just need to win. He'll let us go, okay. So he watches them fight in these cages, because there's two of them in the warehouse, he watches two of them kind of fight at the same time. Well, not at the same time. He's watching one of them fight, one cage at one point and one cage at the other. So he gets one cage to fight, and they start fighting and beating each other to death. Some people had a fire quirk, some people had a kind of steel and knife quirk, some people had a telekinesis quirk, etc. As they start fighting and killing each other until there is a winner, who is a notorious-ish villain. He's a kind of higher ranking villain. His quirk is a kind of magma and stone quirk. So he covers his body in a kind of rocky substance, and in between those rocks are lava and magma, and he can shoot that lava and magma wherever he goes. It's not too strong, but it's strong enough to win him the fight, as he kills everybody there. As he watches the other one, as they're fighting each other senseless, beating each other, murdering each other, as he sees that a highish ranking hero has won the fight, as he has got a water-based quirk, a water-based quirk, as he's kind of a waterbender. He uses the water in the air, water on people, water everywhere, as he uses them to fight. As he's killed everybody in there. And he claps, he's like, wonderful, that was splendid, what a marvelous set of fights. Now I'm going to get you two to fight each other. As they're looking, you're like, how are we we're in two separate cages. As Deku, he just puts down the cage. Or he kind of grabs out a remote and touches the button, as the two cages connect. As the two cages connect and they open up for the two to fight. As the two, they just look at each other, they look at Deku and they're like, well, you are a villain. And they're like, well, you are a hero. So then they start going at it. They start fighting each other, start beating each other, until at one point the hero creates a whip kind of water thing as he slashes, and it takes the villain's head off. As he says, "Wonderful. That was truly magnificent. That was a spectacle to behold. Now, I'm not going to set your bomb off. Thank you so much." As he says, "I'm going to set everybody else's bombs off." As he's like, "What?" As he snaps his fingers, everybody else's bombs ignite as it incinerates the everybody in there, including the hero. As everybody in there dies. As Deku, he's looking in there as he's smiling. He is smiling. He is grinning. His kind of just grinning as he just walks away as the embers of the kind of charred people kind of go away. As he's just like, that was the most magnificent thing I've ever seen. As he leaves and walks out of the warehouse and gets back to the city. As he orders a cab, and he's got money, he's stolen it from like all the heroes and people he's murdered. He's done that fight multiple times. He's gotten a lot of people fight in the fighting rings and gotten a lot of them to kill each other. And yeah, so this is where I'm going to leave this part off. So if you guys do enjoy this, then be sure to smack that like button, subscribe button. Make sure the subscribe button is no longer red, make it grey. We like grey. We don't like red on this channel, we like the colour grey. So make sure that the subscribe button is grey. Make sure to subscribe, like, all of that. Comment if you want a what off to be done, and if it's good and I think it has potential, I will do it. So anyway, that's where I'm going to end this part off. Hope you guys do enjoy this. Remember, God is awesome, you guys are too, and that is it. See ya.